CP24 has invited the leading mayoral candidates to join us over the next week in studio to talk about their platforms. CP24's Lena Latifat joins us now with more on tonight's special guest. Lena.
Good evening. I'm Lena Latifat, and welcome to CP24's special coverage of the lead up to Toronto's mayoral election. With only 3 weeks to go until Election Day, I'll be sitting down each night right here with a different contender for the city's top job. We'll cover details of each candidate's platform and ask them why they think they're the best person for the role. Tonight, I'm talking to mayoral candidate Anthony Furey. He is an executive at the right-wing True North Media Network and former Toronto Sun columnist. If elected, he has promised to clear tent encampments, nix plans for new safe drug consumption sites, and hire 500 more police officers. And over the past week, he's been making some gains in the polls. Mr. Furey joins me live now in studio. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Lena, it's great to be here.
I've got to start off by mentioning that Brad Bradford was supposed to be in tonight. He couldn't make it because he had a baby, and you were gracious enough to come in a couple days early. So thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Congratulations to Brad there. That's fantastic news for him and his wife.
Okay, we're going to move on. I know that you're very happy about your latest poll numbers. You seem to be gaining ground in the polls. And look, that is fair. A lot of people are talking about that. But you are nowhere near Olivia Chow right now. Do you feel like you're running out of time?
Well, you know what I feel and what I hear all the other commentators saying on radio and television is that there's one person who's going up in the polls, and that's me. So everyone else is kind of plateauing, or they're going down a bit, but I have the trend line up. So that feels great. But to your point, there's a big hill to climb. I think the more people get to know Ms. Chow, she has great name recognition. I think that's going to go down a bit once they look at the policies. And I'm told that my policies are really resonating with people. Common sense policies about getting this city back on track. I've been a newspaper columnist for over a decade in this great city, getting to know the issues, getting to know the people. And right now, what the people are saying is that our city can't go one step further to what we see in places like San Francisco, Seattle, downtown Vancouver. Things are starting to slide. You know, I'm the guy who exposed last week that taxpayer dollars are going towards City Hall logo branded crack pipes that are being distributed not just in the injection sites downtown, but in shelters and family shelters in Scarborough and Etobicoke and North York now. And folks of all walks of life, like I got to tell you, people who are voters all across the spectrum are telling me that my message is resonating, that we care deeply about this city. I'm the father of three small kids, and I'm out there really fighting for this city because this is a city worth fighting for, and we can fix this. Okay,
we have a lot to get to. We're going to get to the crack pipe conversation for sure. But speaking of policies, because you started with that, I couldn't find them. I was looking for your platform on your website. We
at
CP24 we're looking for your full comprehensive platform, and we couldn't find anything. All we found was your ideas, your pitches, but no platform. Why is that?
Yeah, I think a lot of the candidates haven't put out the full platform yet. All the policy announcements are out there, and I've been sort of reiterating them, and then we're going to put that whole big PDF out. You know, like back in the 90s, Paul Martin, Jean Chrétien, they said, here's the red book. So we're going to put the Furey book out in just a couple days for all the ideas that I'm passionate about to make this city better. All there for everyone to see, but all the info's already out there right now, and I'm certainly talking about it to all the voters on the street.
You talked about crack pipes, so let's go there next. You have repeated claims about the city providing what you call crack pipes.
I don't call it that. The city calls it that. You can see it on the logo.
With drug addictions, and you have suggested the city is paying for this. Well, we decided to ask the city of Toronto, and they've responded saying that's simply not true, that this is not funded by the Toronto taxpayer, and it's the province paying for these. This equipment, this harm reduction equipment. Do you feel like you need to correct yourself there?
No, I don't. And, you know, I know Toronto Public Health is kind of resistant to going in a different direction on this, but I've been speaking with stakeholders really all across the system who say they want to go in a different direction. And I know they can move things over the ledger sheet, but we know that taxpayers are paying for all of this.
I want to get your comments on the city coming out and saying this is a fact. It's the province of Ontario paying for this, not the city of Toronto.
Yeah, but that's not entirely true. I mean, there's different catchments about what's going on with the injection sites and the drug program. Some of it is in a provincial category. Others are in the municipal category. So City of Toronto taxpayers are definitely paying for the distribution of these crack pipes. all across the city. And I'm looking forward to working with Toronto Public Health on going in this new direction. I think the province is going to be a willing partner with me as well to transfer these injection sites into treatment centres, and that is going to require provincial overlap.
To be extremely transparent with our viewers, we reached out to the City of Toronto. We asked them the question, are these taxpayer-funded drug kits? And they responded saying glass pipes and other harm reduction equipment are provided to Toronto Public Health by the Ontario Harm Reduction Distribution Program, and that is funded by the Government of Ontario.
Money that gets to the city distributed through the program. But anyway, go ahead. I'll argue with them later. I'll file the FOIs and I'll show you. I'll bring them to you
for sure. For that. But right now, the city maintains this is paid by the province. Now, Toronto Public Health has also responded to your comments on these crack pipes, and they say that these sterile syringes and pipes, they significantly reduce the spread of communicable diseases. So if people vote for you, is that what they're getting, a mayor who goes against advice by medical experts and public health?
Everyone is saying what's going on in the streets of Seattle, San Francisco, downtown Vancouver. Toronto can't go one step further in that direction. You know, I've grown tired of taking my kids to parks and finding needles in those parks, and people of all walks of life all across the city, because it's moving to Scarborough, Etobicoke. A CBC News host, she was just posting about her concerns about finding needles in the playground with her kids, and when was tagging mayoral candidates, who's going to fix this? I mean, this is something everyone's talking about right here, and I'm looking forward to working with public health to go in a different direction. The NDP premier in BC, he wants to start going in a different direction. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, he's going in a different direction. And over in London, England, they are, and Portugal is going in a different direction. So I'm going to get Toronto with the winds of change. 20 years of this, Lena, we've been doing it. And the more injection sites we have, the more chaos on our streets. One of the reasons why I've said we're going to have to hire so many more police officers is to help deal with this chaos we're seeing on the streets. The police, health professionals, they tell me that these random attacks that we're seeing on our subways, leading to every meeting I have, parents tell me they don't let their 13-year-old take the subway anymore. And so many of those attacks, they go back to the drug crisis. So we got to keep our families safe, and we've also got to care for these people. This is no way for these people to live their lives. People are seeing these scenes, they are heartbreaking. We got to go in a different direction here.
Okay, and I'm going to go in a different direction now. Let's pivot.
Sure.
Strong mayor powers. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. What are your views? Would you use them?
Look, it's all about consensus. I'm seeking a mandate right now. So if I get the mandate to, for instance, go in a different direction on the drug treatment centers, on the drug injection sites, I think City Council will see, all right, we just had a citywide conversation about this. We're going in that direction. I'm sure there's a lot of persuadable councillors. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to work with them. But at the end of the day, if there's something that is a clear priority about fighting for the people of this city to make life better for all Toronto families, I'll do whatever I have to do.
So you would use the strong mayor powers if necessary?
I would prefer to forge consensus. I think that's the way to do things, but that tool is there, and if it's got to be used, it's got to be used.
Okay, so on the topic of strong mayor powers, I guess this is a good time to talk to you about your relationship with Doug Ford. When it comes to moving the Science Centre, you have said the Ford government's plan to move it stinks to high heaven. How hard are you willing to fight Doug Ford on this and all other matters related to Toronto?
Yeah, but you know, I was speaking more recently about when it comes to redoing Ontario Place, when they talk about having something for everyone. I think that's great. I think one of the challenges with the Ontario Place deal is we know Anna Bailau, she was a developer. Mark Saunders, he was working for Ontario Place. So I think people just, they see it all a little fishy that these are all characters who are kind of involved together. I'm bringing the outside perspective, the fresh perspective. When I come in and talk about these deals, all I'm talking about is what's best for the regular folks, what's best for residents and taxpayers. I do think, while I'm largely supportive of the Ontario Place plans that Premier Ford has put forward, I look forward to working with him on that, I do think that the people should be consulted, because, as you know, people have so many passionate ideas about Ontario Place, Science Centre. We all have childhood memories about it. I do too. It's an underperforming space, and I think the people should just be consulted on what the current plans are before I, as mayor, issue approval authority for it, because the City of Toronto
you didn't
has
answer my question
authority.
About Doug Ford.
I'm going to work with him.
What's your relationship with him like?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a positive relationship. I'm going to work with him to get transit built. We got to get the Ontario line built. I mean, I'm the guy who said I'm going to sue.
Would you be willing to take him on? Would you be willing to fight Doug Ford if he continues to meddle in Toronto's affairs, as some other candidates have put it?
Well, look, I'm here running to be mayor of Toronto, and I'm going to be fighting for the people of Toronto. So I did say that I'm going to be suing Metrolinx for breach of contract and damages. Metrolinx is a provincial agency. But at the end of the day, I'm going to work with Mr. Ford. I'm going to work with Mr. Trudeau to get these things done for the benefit of the people of Toronto. So I think I'm going to get along just fine with other levels of government.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Stick around. We'll continue to chat with you. It's 7:12, 22 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24, and you're watching CP24's special coverage of Toronto's mayoral race, highlighting the top polling candidates this week. We'll be right back with special guest Anthony Furey after a short break. Returning to special coverage of Toronto's mayoral race, tonight we are sitting down with candidate Anthony Furey for a deep dive into his platform. It's good to sit with you and talk to you about some of your ideas. Let's talk about the land transfer tax.
Yeah.
That's an idea that sticks out. You've promised to eventually eliminate that tax.
Absolutely.
You do know that brings in almost $1 billion for the city of Toronto.
A lot less than that in recent years, but we're talking
$950 million, I believe, in 2022. How do you plan on making up for that kind of loss?
So right now we're saying affordability, housing affordability is one of the #1 issues aside from public safety. This is an election about choices, about priorities. So I was just saying before the break, one of the big choices is, do we want to be more like San Francisco, Seattle, all that urban decay? The other choice is whether or not we want to keep spending money on these sort of things that are not priorities for people, or do we actually want to invest in our priorities? If housing affordability is a priority, which it is, getting rid of this unnecessary duplicate land transfer tax cash grab, that's going to be a priority. I've said I'm going to start by getting rid of it for first-time home buyers, because I think when you buy a home for the first time, which so many Torontonians are trying to do, it should be a celebratory moment. But instead, government comes in and says, no, we're gonna take $25,000 from you when you're uncorking the champagne to celebrate that house.
And eventually you'd reduce that tax for everybody in the city, is
Over
that right?
4 years, I'm going to phase it out for everybody, 25% a year, because you got to manage that budget gap responsibly.
So look, I love the idea as a homeowner, but the reality is that leaves you with a massive hole in your budget, another hole on top of a $1.5 billion deficit. How then do you pay for that?
Yeah, I'm ultimately a policy wonk guy, so I can nerd out on all the details of the budget. We're going to pay for it quite a number of ways. One, I've said that this idea of paying to clean the bike lanes in January, February, March when no one uses them is not a priority, but more in a systematic way. We're going to do a non-core services hiring freeze. We're going to keep investing in police officers. We're going to invest in our garbage collectors, filling potholes. But the non-core services hiring freeze allows us to say of those six-figure earners up at City Hall, because 40% of the people who work over there at City Hall are on the sunshine list right now.
So people are going to lose their jobs. That's how you're going to pay for this.
That's not what attrition means, and that's not what a non-core service hiring freeze means. I've actually been explicit, Lena. I've said no one's going to lose their job, because public servants, they're our neighbors, they're our family members and friends. They're struggling with the affordability crisis also. So when people leave to go and pursue another job, or when they retire, we don't immediately fill those gaps. So then we have a major opportunity month by month to roll over tens of millions of dollars to find those savings. And that's how over my term, I'm going to accomplish all of my promises and find affordability and savings for Torontonians.
Okay.
I'm really excited about it.
Okay, I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to try and get through two more questions. In 20 seconds, can you tell me whether or not you would be raising taxes for Torontonians?
I've said no new taxes. The city councillors running against me, they voted to bring in a municipal sales tax. To proceed with that, road tolls on the Gardner and DVP, Lena, we already paid for those with our taxes years ago. I'm not doing that. Property tax increases have to be substantially lower than the rate of inflation to help people get ahead in life.
I have to ask you about your views on immigration. In 2016, you wrote, Canada won't go tough on ISIS, but our human rights courts go tough on comedians who make crude jokes. Then you went on to say, the world is changing. The American century is over. Europe as we know it is over, as migrants with high birth rates pour in with little strategy in place to integrate them. Do you regret those comments, and would you support limiting the number of immigrants moving to Toronto?
Yeah, I don't support that. I mean, that's up to Mr. Trudeau, and I know there's people out there I think it's Olivia Chow's campaign. I guess they're feeling threatened and they're taking things out of context there. They're looking for analysis pieces on European political movements from 10 years ago that I wrote. So I think you should put that question to Olivia Chow of why these sort of NDP proxy groups are so on the attack against me for things.
But the question is for you. Do you regret those comments?
Yeah, what I want people to do, I want people to read. I've written 1,000 newspaper columns over the past 12 years, Lena, and I want people to go and read all those columns. And you're going to read those columns and you go, hey, this is a pretty reasonable guy. I think I support what he's trying to say. I feel bad for all those opposition researchers on the other campaign. Well, I got to tell you, they read all my columns and they say, hey, I'm actually switching sides. I'm joining his team because they like all my reasonable views. So please go and read all the archives of all my columns. I encourage people to.
Okay, Anthony Furey, we'll continue to chat with you. Thank you for that. It's 7:19, 22 degrees. You're watching Toronto's Breaking News CP24. We're going to take a quick break, but stay right there. We're in conversation with mayoral candidate Anthony Furey tonight, and we're sitting down with all the leading candidates this week. Coming up, we'll be meeting with a special guest. We are sitting down with mayoral candidate Anthony Furey tonight, and we're asking all the top candidates this week to introduce us to somebody that means a lot to them, to help us learn a little more about them. Mr. Furey, tell us who you decided to go with.
I brought Leslie McMillan, my wife. Who else?
Good choice. Good
Who
choice.
else?
Can't go wrong with that, right? It's great to meet you. Thank you for agreeing to do this, and welcome to CP24. Leslie, tell us about when you guys met and how you met.
Sure. We met back, we both went to U of T, and we both did the Summer Abroad to Mexico program. And that's where we met. We stayed in homestays in Guadalajara, Mexico, and mine happened to be a good half-hour walk away from everyone else in the university. And he walked me home every night of that 5 weeks that we were there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony, you want to add to that story? Is that your version of it too?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, we met in class, but class happened to be in Mexico. So,
right.
you know.
Wow, that's a great location. What does it feel like to watch your husband run for the top job in Toronto?
It's exciting. I'm proud of him. I think he's doing a great job. You know, he's always been a great speaker and had great ideas, and we've had great conversations through the years at home, and it's been really wonderful.
Did you know that he'd been thinking about running for a long time? What was that like?
You know, no, I think, no, he hadn't.
She told me to do it, I swear. It's just...
Did you really?
Well, I mean...
She's like, well...
We talked about it, and we said somebody should do it. Like, who's going to do it? Somebody's got to do it. This city needs help. And then nobody stepped up, and we're waiting, and then it kind of dawned on us, if nobody's going to do it, he's got to do it. And I love this man, and I love this city, so it's great.
Were you nervous about her reaction and what she would say when you decided that you'd want to run?
No, because I think it kind of came, you know, at the same time, really. I mean, all those things that I've said about us, you know, pushing the stroller in the park and finding the needles, and our condo that we lived in before we moved to the East End was a couple blocks from Moss Park, and us just dealing with that. And one of the reasons we moved out of downtown was that dealing with those issues of that so many families are dealing with right now, and those aren't like campaign talking points. That was our life, wasn't it?
It was.
So raising a family in Toronto, what has that been like? Leslie, we'll hear from you. You have 3 kids,
We have
right?
3 boys, 9, 7, and 5, and we lived downtown for the first, I don't know, 5 years, I guess, and it was great. I have to say, anyone thinking of having small kids in downtown, do it. It was fantastic. We could walk to Riverdale Farm and walk to the AGO, and it was great. Until it started. Yeah, until it wasn't, for a variety of reasons. I mean, I think our neighborhood, you know, it was gritty and it was fine, and those guys were fine, and I'd chat to them all the time, but it started to change. Things went downhill. I don't know if you could call it the fentanyl was the game changer there. But it definitely, there was a noticeable change. You know, you'd walk out of the stairwell and there'd be somebody shooting up in your stairwell, and that had never happened before.
Anthony?
It's true. I mean, these are the reasons I'm running for mayor, for these sort of daily challenges that families just like us with small children are dealing with when it comes to public safety, when it comes to affordability. And yeah, we love this city. It's full of amazing people, all walks of life. But I got to tell you, as I've been traveling all across town, meeting with people in this beautiful city, they're all saying the same things. I mean, everyone's kind of having the same experiences right now. So it's got to change. And as I said, this is a city worth fighting for, and we can fix this. And I'm going to do it.
Okay, on a lighter note, is there something that people in Toronto need to know about your husband, Anthony Furey? What is something that you think most people don't know about him?
Don't know about him.
Uh-oh.
He has a crazy laugh, like a really full.
Okay, I have to hear this laugh now.
Laugh. Like he's got a great sense of humor, and we laugh a lot. And he doesn't often get to do it in public.
I'm not doing that laugh on live television. It's not happening.
That's
It's
is
not,
it
it's
is
off.
it loud?
It's
how
very,
would you describe
I don't know.
the laugh?
It's kind of a high-pitched,
Okay,
nasally
people are going to ask
kind of.
about the laugh
funny.
now. Everywhere I go,
know.
they're going to turn into like a mayoral party trick.
And that is something you think most people don't know.
They wouldn't
about
know,
him,
yeah,
the
because
laugh.
he seems often very serious and.
I
But
didn't think she was gonna
he's
say that.
yeah, I know.
I told the Toronto Life Survey, because they asked about a thing it wouldn't know about, that I actually moved to Toronto as a boy by myself at 10 years old to live at the National Ballet School.
Right.
Which was, that's kind of like a thing people wouldn't have expected. I was on track to be a professional ballet dancer, but that didn't proceed.
And you were 10 at the time.
I was 10. I didn't make the cut.
You didn't make the cut. Well, here you are running for mayor of Toronto instead.
Yeah.
Thank you both for coming in, Leslie and Mr. Anthony Furey. We so appreciate your time, and good luck with the campaign.
Thank you.
You're watching Toronto's Breaking News, CP24, and thank you for watching our special coverage, Toronto's mayoral campaign race with candidate Anthony Furey tonight. And tune in the rest of the week as we invite more candidates to our studio to discuss their platforms until Election Day and ask them why they think they're the best person for the job. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., we're sitting down with candidate Mitzi Hunter. Thanks for joining us.